right, well, hello everyone. My name is Jamie Reed, and I'm the Education Specialist with the Oracle Applications and Technology Users Group. I'm excited to welcome you all to the Database Week 2024 session, Oracle Enterprise Manager, 7 robust features to put in action. I'd like to thank Datavail for sponsoring Database Week 2024. These weeks could not happen without your support, and we're really grateful for you and your partnership. Before we get started, I'd like to highlight Ascend, our annual users conference at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas from June 17th to the 20th, 2024. Registration is now open and information can be found on the OATUG website, and I'll post a link for that in the chat area shortly. A quick reminder for today's webinar, you will be on mute throughout the session. However, you're welcome to send questions at any time through the Q&A and the Zoom platform. We'll address questions at the end of the webinar. If you are interested in receiving CPE credit, your participation is required. To be eligible to receive CPE credit, you must be logged into the webinar for at least 50 minutes. Ask a question under your username through the Q&A area of Zoom and complete the session survey at the end of this webinar. For tracking purposes, questions posted in the chat are not CPE eligible. They must be asked in the Q&A. We are recording the session. The recording, as well as the slide deck, will be available to Database Week 2024 attendees and OATUG members in the knowledge base within 24 hours. And I'd like to turn it over to our speaker, Zane Warton, Director and Global Practice Leader with Datavail. Thank you so much. You can take it away.
Thanks. Thanks for joining our session, and I'll get started. So again, I'd like to emphasize Ascend 2024. It will be up, just coming up in a few months. So if you can make it, that'd be great. We're the sponsors, and here we am. So I'm Zane Warton. I'm Oracle Database and Practice Database Administrator and Practice Lead for Datavail. I've been an Oracle DBA since about 1999. So what seems like a very long time now. I've worked across multiple roles in industry. I've been with Datavail a little over 7 years now. I have my OCP certification and, college degree. I work with a team of, Datavail overall has several hundred DBAs, but not all of them are Oracle. Oracle team is about 100 or so. And I'll go to the next slide. Datavail itself has been in company for about 16 years. We started with Oracle and SQL Server. In the last decade, we've added support for not all of the other database systems, many of the other database systems, including MongoDB, Postgres, MySQL, and others. And through growth and acquisitions, we've also expanded into other areas of managed service, that includes Oracle applications and such. So I encourage you to check out our web presence or social media accounts if you would like to check out any more information. I'll be going over, let's see, sorry about that. This thing's sliding around on me a little bit. Here's our basic agenda, going over the history of OEM, talk a little bit about who uses it and why, and then talk about the 7 different highlights of OEM. The bonus content, I'll go through some of the recent RU changes and talk about that process. Oracle Enterprise. Over the years, Oracle's done many innovations for the Enterprise Manager Cloud Control tool. And we know it's an impressive tool, where most folks at an enterprise level at least are using it quite a bit. It works for very small to large complex environments. OEM can monitor and manage your wide range of devices, including your database, applications, Oracle software, and non-Oracle targets. And with the additional management packs available, you can configure various things or do different things. Some of the packs require a separate license, and they include the change management pack, data masking pass, lifecycle management pack. These extra packs allow you to tune and and uh, allow you to post or post your RU changes and other changes to your databases. Basically, let you control your whole database infrastructure at from a single point and update all your systems at once for RU patching or refreshes, things like that. OEM has gone through many permutations throughout its development. It was first released in 2001 as OEM database control. That version was based off of a Java client table. It allowed users control over the database management and configuration. The next major release is the OEM application server control, which allows users to work with application servers in addition. OEM grid control came around in 2010 with a significant expansion in is there managing I'll take that at the end of the slide. It's extended support to non-Oracle OEM platforms, allowing third parties to create extensions, broaden cluster and server farm monitoring, track large ranges of metrics. And the latest version of Cloud Control, which builds off grid controls functionality and extends it to a cloud-based platform. It's released in 2016. Its most recent version is 13C, version 5, and that was released around 2021. And since then, it's been adding new features and providing security updates through release update sets, sort of like the Oracle 19C and new versions, 23, everything happens through release updates. Currently, we're on update 15. Actually, I think it's 19. And those updates come out every few months or so. OEM 24 was announced. 24C was announced to be out in the second half of 2024. I haven't seen a date for that yet. So there's a management pack for monitoring EBS systems. I don't believe we don't monitor our EBS. We monitor Golden Gate through multiple customers, OEMs, through the JAgent monitoring tool, but there's no management pack associated with that. As far as other EBS pieces, I don't believe it needs a management pack, but I'm not sure about that. You can ping me through email after this, and I can try to look that up for you. But I don't think it's a separate pack. I think you can just do it. Who uses OEM? OEM is intended for database administrators and system administrators supporting enterprise level infrastructure. It can also service dashboards and reporting for management and other end users. Organizations heavily invested in Oracle-based infrastructure gain the most significant benefits among potential users, since this is a first-party enterprise management tool. Other companies can find significant value even if you have a limited Oracle focus. Oracle has a rock-solid reputation for offering enterprise-grade solutions that are powerful and secure. OEM lives up to this reputation and continually evolves to meet the needs of organizations. The deep integration of Oracle products remove the guesswork involved in whether you can manage one of their technologies through the Enterprise Manager, whether it supports future versions of Oracle databases. Both your on-prem and Oracle cloud-based technologies are supported, along with a long list of other assets. Your organization improves its visibility into your infrastructure, which can be challenging when you have databases, applications, and other assets spread throughout your data center on various cloud platforms. The dependability of OEM is also worth considering, as this platform has been in development for 20 years. You know it's available for the long term and don't need to worry about reaching end of life. Oracle continually releases improvements that enhance this platform and empower DBAs with the tools they need to work with complex enterprise environments. The out-of-the-box features may not cover your organization needs, but that's where the extensions come in. This platform has significant flexibility, whether you want to work with third-party developers or put together your own OEM extensions. The automation included in also gives DBAs back a lot of time that have previously been spent in day-to-day issues. This additional time and resources can lead to better optimization, quality, user experiences, and other kinds of improvements. I'm going to walk through these different 7 highlights: intelligent job compression, chef job support, always on monitoring, notification blackout, system broadcasting, export and import incident rule sets, and metric enhancements. First of all, we'll talk about smart alerting, also known as intelligent incident compression. If you've used any of the 11 or 12 C enterprise manager unit managers until now, you may have experienced those floods of alerts during host down or similar situation when we receive alerts from each and every target hosted on the same server that went down due to some underlying issue. The results this results in too many alerts or tickets being generated, which we really don't need. You may lose sight on the important alerts or the true root cause of problems, wasting your time just trying to manage this flood of alerts. To reduce this flood of alerts, with Enterprise Manager 13C, Intelligent Incident Compression allows multiple events to be automatically grouped into a single incident. Some of these situations where it is useful to deal with multiple related events as a single incident are consolidate events from targets on the same host, merging all tablespace used alerts across all tablespaces for a particular database into a single incident. You may want automatic union of all metric collection errors into a single incident. By compressing notifications, you can manage relating events as one unit. This will save space in the repository as it compresses duplicate copies of the same incidents into a single incident. This now happens by default once you get to release update 12. And I'll be talking about a little bit that when I get to release update 12 in the bonus section. But if you don't have update 12 installed yet, or you want to manually control how the incident compression works, you can use these kinds of screens. This is a screenshot showing that you're compressing events to create an incident. If not yet associated with one, you compress multiple events. This you can press from the same target or the same host. In this case, it's on the same host. And you can add other category or time windows if you want. And for instance, the time window at the bottom there is in 1 hour. So you might not get the alert for a while, but it will try to compress the events. And then future events should add under that first incident rather than creating new ones. You'll have to modify your rule set where we have a compress events rule. And in this case, it's compressing them in a window of 5 minutes. And then you email, most of our alerts are sent to our ServiceNow system, which is a ticket creation system. A lot of times that can work off of emails if you don't have an app connection to it. In this case, it sends an email out. We'll email anybody into our DBA group and to the sysman user if you have email set up under sysman. And then it sets the owner of the incident. Now, this is not the incident in the ticketing system. This is the incident underneath the incident manager under the enterprise options inside of OEM. And then also, there's two different compression rule sets here. One is compressing events, and one is compressing availability. Inside of OEM, you have events or things like getting close to some kind of metric limit, like CPU usage or disk space size or table space size maximums. And then you have availability, and availability is just our systems up or down. So they don't work together because they're kind of two different, or Oracle OEM kind of groups those into two different categories. Second thing we'll talk about real quick is Chef job support. Chef is a declarative configuration management and automation platform. It's been very popular for its concept as infrastructure as code. It's similar to kind of like your AWS Terraform or other things. You can create machine readable files called chef recipes that can be used to provision infrastructure, sometimes including computing hardware and networking. Chef's recipes are now supported with a new job type introduced in 13C. You can go to the Chef cookbook and chef recipes in the software library, sort of like where you keep your patches. You have to have chef solo set up You create a separate folder in the software library. You update your chef cookbooks, and you can create an OEM job using those chef cookbooks and submit it. So if you have a refresh operation that runs every month or statistics gathering, you can do all kinds of basically kind of any kind of job you could run that might be multi-step. You don't want to run it as a simple job. You can save it as a chef package and run it there. And this is a screenshot of what the chef recipe job might look like, where you put in the those percent parameters. It's kind of akin to a Windows parameter entry where it will go to the default path associated with where that chef recipe is. The next thing we're talking about is always on monitoring. We have looked in the past for a way to monitor your OEM service if it goes down. Because if you're depending on your OEM service to do all your monitoring for you on the Oracle basis, if it else goes down, if you're taking it down for a patch, then this comes in very handy where your agents will help monitor your main service. It's basically a lightweight kind of operation or a lightweight application. You can enable AOM by monitoring by following a few simple steps in OEM, and it just requires creating a schema in the Oracle database, which is separate from the OEM repository and will hold all objects. You could enable notifications as and when required. However, it is best practice to keep AOM running all the time, and notifications can be enabled as per requirement. Particularly useful to enable notifications during planned maintenance work like quarterly patching or EM upgrades. The monitoring configuration of targets and notifications data include contacts and email gateway configuration that are synchronized with the always-on monitoring, and will reuse existing configuration in OEM. So you don't have to configure them separately, and then if you change the configuration in the primary, it keeps them in sync. Once it's properly set up and synchronized, the EM notifications can be received even when the enterprise manager services are unavailable. Notification blackouts are something that is new that has been added to 13C. Targets are still getting monitored by the agents and events still get generated, just the notifications will be suppressed. This will help to introduce more efficiencies on target availability calculations and service level agreements. There are two types of notification blackouts. There's maintenance notification blackouts. This type of blackout is particularly useful when we don't want to receive notifications for planned maintenance work. But as it's planned maintenance, the notification blackout duration will not be considered while calculating the availability and SLAs. So if you're committed to with your customers or your internal customers to have a certain SLA or a certain availability percentage, when you use these notification blackouts, it won't count against those calculations that you can pull up inside of OEM itself. The only notification blackouts. This type of blackout is set up for unexpected outages, such as a host crash or a SAN issue. As the blackout is set up due to some unexpected outage, it does count against the availability numbers. So to create one, pretty straightforward. You go to your blackout sections under Enterprise, and you can just name it whatever you like. You can run jobs or not during the blackouts, and you can select whatever your target is under maintenance, and it gives you that choice between under maintenance and non-maintenance. And these are great for setting up if you're configuring a new system that's just been added. You can add the host before you add the databases and the ASM and listeners and things like that. And then that way you don't get any premature alerts associated with before you've actually added the templates or made appropriate adjustments once you're adding a new service into your OEM or a new target. It also allows you to do retroactive blackouts. If you have a server bounce or something, you can go back and make a choice to make it a non to provide a reason besides around that blackout and remove those from the SLA percentage numbers if you so choose. Of course, it doesn't undo the blackout in actuality, but that's how time works. System broadcasting. It's always best practice to notify your users, which might be connected to your enterprise manager about any particular outages that might bring it down for services and planned maintenance. Oracle has introduced a new feature in 13C cloud control known as a system broadcast. Using this feature, the super administrator can now notify all users who are connected to the enterprise manager by sending a message during any planned maintenance work. This can be done. This is the system broadcast form. And you can also send out a message to using the EMCLI function. So if you don't want to log into the console and send the message out manually, you can log into you can just use EMCLI before you shut down your OMS to send out a general broadcast for folks. That way, if you have set up those templates and things to have your executives and such look at dashboards, then they will get notified that the system's going down, and they don't pick up the phone and call you when it's happening if they just happen to be there when they're looking at it. Some other notes, just kind of talking about the EMCLI utility. I hope it's well known, but just in case it's not or new for anybody on the call, if you inherit a large OEM environment or you add multiple servers at a time, you can use EMCLI commands like this to make multiple changes at the same time. So for instance, if you get a new region and you want to add a new life cycle for all the servers from that region, or a new department or something like that, so you are locations, so you know what servers are on that region, you can log in to a particular username, either sysban or another username with sysadmin controls, do an EMCLI sync, and then you could get a list of all of the targets that your OEM system is monitoring. You can put that into a script and then use a simple awk command like I have on the slide to, for instance, change all those listeners in there to the lifecycle status change. Put that into a short text file, and then you could read the text file in with that next command in the center, the emcil set target property value, and make massive or multiple changes at once. And you can even do, put some if else statements into your awk statement if you want to make it a little more complicated, if your server names are consistent and you want to, set multiple servers to one particular lifecycle or the other, then this is how you could do it. So for exporting and importing of incident rule sets, this is much needed functionality in Enterprise Manager 13C that has been added. The rule sets can be in the past, you can export and import metric templates, but you couldn't do that with rule sets. It uses the XML format to export the template, and you can import it if you're going to another OEM. If you're doing sort of a greenfield upgrade for your OEM system and you're going from 13.4 to 13.5 or something like that, or even earlier version. Well, actually, I suppose in this case, you'd have to go from one 13.5 to another because the export doesn't exist until 13.5. But anyway, it's very useful if you are trying to move a rule set from one to the other. It also helps you standardize rule sets among different, if you have an OEM set up for your dev environment or region, and one for your prod region or your DR region and your non-DR region, this will help you make sure you standardize the rule sets between the two different environments. And literally, they just added an import and export button. But please note the rule sets with incident rules include incident rules, users, recipient email addresses, and targets on which rule sets are configured, and notification methods can be exported. But if any of those entries are, if any of the entries associated with particular server names, those might be removed in the export import process. But some of those entries are removed. The emails might still be there. In other words, don't just do it and forget it. Make sure that you review it afterwards and make sure that the emails associated with the new import are appropriate. And if you have any other server rules that weren't removed, you want those to happen. Some metric enhancements in the current release. They used to extend monitoring by creating user-defined metrics, which had limited functionality and only available for a few target types. 13C cloud control. The metric extensions allow you to create full-fledged metrics for a multitude of target types, including hosts, databases, Exadata databases, and storage servers. Cybele components, Oracle Business Intelligence components, Fusion applications, IBM WebSphere. There are new metric comparison operators that can now be modified for alerts, and compute expressions are now supported. Metric extensions can be set up for both rack and non-rack databases. And here's where the metric server panel are. I believe this is also under enterprise and management. Although maybe under the setup menu, I can't remember at the moment. So now we're going to talk about some of the RU upgrades. All this data was mined from the Oracle observability blogs, generally written by Daniela Hensel, but there's some other authors that are associated with some of these articles. The website you can get these on, or if you like, you can add it to an old-fashioned RSS feed if you want to be updated as they're out. But they basically have the availability announcements associated with an RU. There's been 10 different RUs in the last year, adding in 459 new features and enhancements and 208 code stability improvements. EM 13.5 support has been extended through 2026, and 24C is coming out in 2024, supposedly the second half. That's after June. It's supposed to modernize the architecture. There's supposed to be new features through JET templates, better integration with cloud services, OCI and AWS and others apparently. And then there's going to be zero downtime monitoring and some alert caching. If you want to follow the link there to the OEM Tech Forum in 2023, they go through a lot of these upcoming changes in better detail. So I'm going to go through a lot of what the releases are, just to kind of talk about what was added in each to give you a sense that these aren't just bug fixes. They are adding content with every release. And I'll point out about 10 of the highlights of the 19 that are out there. So in October 2021, the graphical interface for the database patching is out. Patch flow operations can now be performed using a new, more intuitive interface. Oracle Enterprise Manager now supports backing up a database to the OCI, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Object Storage, by leveraging Swift endpoints. And then there's simplified agent patching, which is all platform and plugin patches into a single system patch. It combined those platform plugin patches, so it's simplified patched tracking and deployment. In 13.504, released in February 2022, there's a pluggable database update and upgrade using Fleet Maintenance UI. You can now update or upgrade pluggable databases using Fleet Maintenance user interface, part of the database lifecycle management pack for Oracle databases. You can simplify individual multiple PDB targets to be patched, updated, or upgraded, and they can either attach to an existing container database or deploy to a brand new container. You can monitor a database using a custom non-DBS NMP user. If you have particular rules about default users or users that are created by default, like the DBS NMP user, you can use a different user instead. You have to make sure you get the credentials correct, and the rights correct, the role. And there's a new compliance rule detail tab that it's also part of the database lifecycle management pack. Introduced a new rule tab that provides a detailed summary of a given rule, its severity, the rule status, a description, rationale, and recommendations. In August 2022, the BI publisher was removed. I'm not sure how many of you had BI publisher reports from 13.4 or 13.5 in the earlier editions. We had a few. It was a graphical reporting interface besides the default report interface. For a long time, Oracle had claimed that they were going to remove the old report interface and encourage you to move your reports to the BI publisher, and they changed their minds. And they have removed the BI publisher from OEM altogether as of August 2022. There's also a new EM Federation dashboard. This version introduced the ability to specify EM sites of interest and access critical information from multiple sites in a single new interface. The Federation Overview dashboard rolls up information such as status of targets, incidents, problems, and job status across all your EM sites if you happen to have a customer with multiple EM implementations. New compliance and comparison and drift dashboards. This version introduced a brand new comparison and drift management dashboard that allows you to access at a glance information on targets drifting from a set configuration or inconsistent with a set definition or targets that differ from a given template. And here's an example of that Federation dashboard. So you can kind of watch things over time if you're, for instance, your Linux instances are not maintaining their patches or drifting from or showing up with more problems. In July 2022, we're up to version 8. This is where they allowed RU18 and creates an event compression policy. So now the events I showed you before, like a 5-minute compression window, that's still available to set up and use. But now you can set up, or now by default, there's an event compression policy. And there's a little checkbox with each of your events that are your rule sets to use the policy or not, basically. And this gives you a default policy to move your alerts in that event compression way I mentioned before. In version 13, last year in March, it came out with the ADDM Spotlight. ADDM is built into the Oracle database with a performance and tuning license, or just with a performance license, I believe. The ADM Spotlight is a new summary report, basically, of those ADM results. It highlights the findings of the biggest performance impacts and makes recommendations on how to fix them inside this little very convenient menu. So you can see your reports over a period of time, what's consistent among the reports, and we find this pretty useful. The Spotlight information is also shown on the database homepage, including a summary of ADDM findings over the last day and a link to drill down into the Spotlight page. In version 15, or release update 15 in May, they added run books They had added runbooks earlier, but they extended that functionality with this release. You can assign a runbook as part of an event rule. So if you have junior DBAs and and you will take the time to write a runbook of, if we get this kind of alert, say you get blocking locks in a OEM instance and you want, or a database instance, and you have for this particular application, you have a particular allowed set of to kill sessions associated with those blocking locks. You can add that to a runbook, add it to a rule, and that will highlight when a DBA looks at that rule, that incident violation inside of OEM, and we'll say, hey, you can go kill these users or something like that. There's also a high availability target priority. Under high availability, allows you to distinguish between a primary and standard-based database roles better. So when a role change occurs, EM will automatically update the user-defined target property value. If it's into that new database role, primary or standby. You can apply this property to your dynamic groups or administration groups, so you can kind of see all standby instances or all primary instances if you're using those dynamic groups. It's also additional spotlight enhancements for the ADDM Spotlight, and now includes a action menu to view recommendations in the parameters tab, and then when clicked, EM displays a slide out with details about the particular recommendations. In June, they added some more events to the ADM Spotlight. You can add correlating edits to it, so you can say, hey, there's a database bounce, or this was a user, busy period. So if you're reviewing the report later, you can understand, oh, this was just after a restart or something like that. It allows you, basically adds comments to the ADM Spotlight section. They also added to add the Ash Analytics page a username link, so you can click the username to help clarify what particular what that username sessions are doing, what their connections are. They didn't have that filter there before. There's also a heat map, and ADO is now available for PDBs. The ILM heat map and automatic database data optimization features are now available for pluggable databases. To access these features, you go to the home page of the PDB and the administration menu, select storage, and then information lifecycle management. There's also custom SQL for console widgets. You can edit the predefined SQL queries for particular widgets that show up on the console when you can make your own dashboards with it. You can edit those SQLs now where you couldn't before. And there's a need fleet maintenance hub, which is a brand new interface called the Fleet Maintenance Hub. You can get insight into vulnerabilities for database assets and apply patches to affected targets. And it probably needs a fleet management license to use it. But it basically allows you to, it's basically a kind of pre-written dashboard from Oracle to help you visualize what you need for your fleet maintenance. In September 29th, from last year, 17 came out, includes some Performance Hub reports, allows you to generate, view, and download database activity reports. These can be generated across you're basically a range of time that you select. You can also do dashboard export and import. So if you create a custom dashboard on one environment, maybe perhaps for one customer, you can export it and import it into another customer, and that would contain the same items. It lets you share dashboard data. So basically, it just allows you to keep some interesting dashboards you make for one site and move it to another. Just last December, there was a multi-event type for support for compression policies. So you can group in, before I was showing you that you had the availability reports and the metric alerts that were separate. You can now group those together to a single, um, into a single compressed event type. Allows for further compression. There's also a new blocking sessions tab in the Performance Hub, which includes detailed information about each blocking session, sessions blocked by blocking sessions, drill down into the SQL associated by those sessions. There's also additional ADDM spotlight enhancements, which includes total database time during time range, which is the total database time for a selected range of time. So normally you see a ADWR report or ADM report. It kind of reports the database time for that particular report. Now you can do it across a wide range of a whole report period. It also now shows instance level contribution. If you have rack instances, you want to know, well, is our applications using the second node like they're supposed to? Is the reporting going to node 3 like you intended? Things like that. It will break those up for you so you can better see if that's happening or not. It also includes a finding and recommendations tab. You can use zoom in and zoom out on those tabs or a mouse scroll to change the time range being displayed. And last but not least, just from this year, January 2000, I'm sure it's March. They probably have a new one around the corner if they don't have version 20. It adds more to the filters. So you can just filter on particular recommendations in ADDM inside that ADDM spotlight. And it's finally certified if you want to put your OEM device, not on a Linux box, but on Windows 64 or Windows 2022 server 2022. You can now put it on there. And that's my presentation. So are there any general questions?
I don't see any other questions here, but while we're waiting, remember again, if you do want to receive CPE for this session, we do need to stay on for at least 50 minutes for it to be CPE eligible. And you also need to ask a question in the Q&A box. So I just want to throw that out there. And then also, again, thank you so much, Zane, for presenting today and for your sponsorship. Again, we could not do this without our sponsors, and we really appreciate the partnership that we have with Datavail.
Sure.
Any questions at all before we finish up here? All right. Well, I don't see anything coming through, so
we could have an unofficial poll real quick. Recommendations for actually we have a question that came up.
Oh, awesome.
About read only. Basically, the question is, would you have any recommendations for a development team to request read only access to OEM and non-prob environments? I mean, the great thing about OEM is if you go to the administrator setup tab, you can set up additional users. You can either do that as a group for your folks, or you can do it individually for particular developers. And then you could assign a role and have only a certain list of databases assigned to that role. So when they go into OEM, they can see a list of the databases they can log into. And as far as what read-only access or not they might have inside those particular databases, that depends on the user accounts you set up in those databases. So if those accounts are set up correctly, they're not going to have the application password or potentially not have the application password to go in and change things inside of OEM, but they should still be able to view if they have the right, the appropriate roles. So, but we've basically just done just that. We have a particular customer I'm thinking of. We've got two different kind of role levels, kind of a supervisor, application supervisor access and a developer access, and they have access to different sets of databases, and you can just list out the databases they have access to. The informal poll I was thinking of is when you have done your upgrades, do most folks try to upgrade in place, or do you guys create, not necessarily for the release updates, but for like a 13.4 to 13.5, in your experiences, or do you create a whole new server and then migrate your agents over? You just respond in the webinar chat. Oh yeah, yeah. So there's some comment on that developer question. You can't view the EM. Oh, I think people should use the EM, especially developers, because it lets them visually see, especially performance charts are priceless as far as understanding what queries might be doing to the system. I would think they should even have read-only access to production too, so they can go in and see what's going on. If you don't give your developers decent feedback, how can you expect them to roll out better changes? How are we doing on
Right.
time? We're close.
No, we're good. We're good. So, all right. Well, thank you so much again. Thank you to our attendees for participating today and being here. We hope you enjoyed the first day of sessions, and we can't wait to see you the rest of the week. Zane, again, thank you so much. We really
Sure.
appreciate you. All
Right.
right.
And if you're
Everyone,
interested and you have a copy of the slides, I did place all of the remaining updates. It just seemed a little pedantic to go through all 19 different slides associated with every single change. They, again, keep your system updated. You see lots of these RU updates, and they're nice to see.
yeah, well, I will be sure to send those slides to me, and I will get those uploaded into our knowledge base along with the recording. So
Great.
all right. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks all. Bye.
Bye.